Hi, everybody. Do you sense a deep burden on your heart these days? I sure have. The more I think about our world and our nation and our community and our families, the more burdened I've become. And the more I think about this burden that I sense on my soul, the more I realize that it goes far deeper than the current COVID-19 pandemic. My heart is burdened for something that is deeper than even the economic crisis and the unprecedented unemployment rates. See, I think I have a burden because of the spiritual darkness that has been growing in our families and community and nation and world for years. I am seeing increased brokenness all around me. I'm hearing stories of increased substance abuse. I'm seeing marriages that are on the brink and falling apart. I am noticing people who are isolated and depressed and despairing and alone. I am seeing people treat their other fellow human beings with utter contempt and vile rage online. We have a spiritual darkness that is creeping over our nation. See, none of this is directly caused by the pandemic. The fears and frustrations surrounding the virus and the quarantine may be bringing these things to the surface, but our lives and this world have already been falling apart for years. The pandemic may be unmasking just what was always happening under the surface. But we really just want things to get back to normal. See, we have jobs and wealth in America, and work, which is a very good thing, is often used to distract us from the deeper issues. So we work, while internally our lives are falling apart. We are spiritually sick and dying from the inside out, but we work to ignore the deeper things, the things that ultimately matter. We never stop to consider Jesus' words when he said, quote, "What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world and yet loses his soul?" Unquote. But that's a pretty hard question to contemplate, and I don't really like thinking about that. So it's far easier just to go back to be busy and to work hard and not recognize that our souls, our lives, our families, our communities are falling apart. It's easier just to go back to work than to face those harder questions. And then, when we aren't working, we turn to entertainment to distract ourselves even more. So we work hard and then we play hard. And the whole time we ignore our spiritual sickness. We have lived disconnected and isolated lives in America for years. Families are falling apart, communities are fragmenting, leaving unloved and lonely, autonomous individuals. The quarantine, I think, has highlighted our isolation and loneliness, but it certainly has not caused it. Mother Teresa recognized this years ago when observing America. She said that we have a poverty that is actually deeper than the poverty of Calcutta. She said this, quote, "You in the West have millions of people who suffer such terrible loneliness and emptiness. They feel unloved and unwanted. These people are not hungry in the physical sense, but they are in another way. They know they need something more than money, yet they don't know what it is," unquote. See, the spiritual darkness, it's been spreading for generations, but we just want to go back to normal. We have a porn industry in America that is estimated between $10 and $15 billion per year in the U.S. At least 30% of all data that is transferred across the internet is porn related. We are sacrificing our marriages and our children to the gods of sexual liberty, and it is destroying and enslaving hundreds of millions of lives. But we just want things to go back to normal. So-called deaths of despair have been skyrocketing for the past 2 decades. Deaths attributed to suicide, opioids, and other drug and alcohol abuse have been increasing at unprecedented rates for the past 20 years, and they are likely to increase drastically during this time of pandemic and the economic problems that are to follow. But we just want things to go back to normal. We are divided and embittered. We smugly sit behind our computer screens and spout off all of our brilliant political solutions to the problems of the world, as if you and I can fix the problems of the world. I mean, you and I can't even get our own personal lives together. Seriously, do you think it's that simple? We should just follow this trite political advice while your own life is a mess? I'm not saying I've got it all together, but the arrogance that I see in so many people who think they have all the solutions to the world, and yet they can't even fix their own life. But I suppose it is easier to pretend like we can fix the world while ignoring our own personal problems. That's really the hard work, isn't it? And we live lives of despair, and we rage against each other. But we just want things to get back to normal. Why do I just want things to get back to normal? I'll be honest with you. It's really because these other things that I'm talking about are hard to face. You know, in a lot of ways, I'd rather just go back to distracting myself, ignoring the deeper problems of our families, of our community, of our nation, because these things are difficult and they're kind of scary. But I think they're far deeper than all of the other issues that we are facing in these days. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm really tired of playing games and pretending like these things aren't real. And I don't want to play these prideful games of thinking that all of the problems are somebody else's fault out there and not deal with the deeper things in our own lives. See, our sickness is far deeper than a virus. We have a sickness of the soul, and we are dying, and our marriages are dying, and our families are dying, and our culture is dying. And I know this video is a bit of a drag today, but I just don't want to pretend anymore. See, I'm no longer satisfied with just going back to some sort of distracted normal. What should we do in the face of such a great darkness? Here's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to wake up, to look myself in the mirror and to repent, to face my own sin, my own selfishness, and to ask God to have mercy upon my soul. See, we can't even fix our own lives, let alone the world. You and I desperately need God to work in us, to work in our families, to work in our communities, to work in this world. See, the only true hope of the world is God's redeeming work. And that work always starts right here in the human heart. You want to save your family? That work starts right here. You want to save your community? Don't start out in your community. Start right here. You want to save your state or your nation or the world? All of that work begins here. The real spiritual battle of the universe begins in the hearts of individuals. This is where the battle of the world is raging. But it's hard to face. See, it's easier just to go back to normal life, to distract ourselves while slowly we die. But I don't really want to go back to normal. See, I want to see real redemption. I want to see real life. And there is a hope. I believe it. But the hope isn't based on me solving all of the world's problems. It is not based on me setting the world right. It is a hope only in God himself. So we are called to be honest, to look into the mirror first, to face our own selfishness, our own brokenness before pointing at everybody else, and to pray desperately. And I'll tell you what, there's a lot of hope, not just for you and not just for me, but hope for the whole world. See, God, I believe, can fix our families. He can fix our communities. He can fix our culture. He can fix our world. But he does it one human heart at a time. And if we're not willing to start there, we really don't want to fix anything. God is our true hope. As heavy as this video sounds, if your heart is burdened, start here. Begin to let him redeem your life. Face your own stuff first. There is true hope in a God who wants to put lives back together. Put your trust in him. God bless you.